Okay, so let's see if we can wrap this up today. We've got most of these done, so let's see if we can wrap up the last few. All right. As you can see over here on the side, done a lot of work. All right, so I think we did the one for the triangle here, and we certainly didn't have enough space, so I copied it again, and we're going to do the one for the rectangle this time. Okay. Okay, so the formula for area of a rectangle is a little easier. It's just length times width, right? So that means we're just going to multiply the x by 2x plus 5. X times 2x plus 5. And that is going to equal 50. All right, so if we go ahead and distribute, this will give us 2x squared, and then plus 5x equals 50. Okay. So in order to complete the square, remember we need just an x squared, not a 2x squared. So we have to divide everybody by 2. So go ahead and do that. Let's divide by 2, divide by 2, and divide by 2. All right, so our new guy is going to be x squared, and then plus 5 halves x. So the fractions are kind of a pain, and that's going to equal 25. Okay. So remember, for completing the square, we take the number in front of the x, which in this case is 5 halves, and we divide him by 2. Now, when you're working with a fraction, remember that dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. Okay, those two are the same. So then we just multiply across. So 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 2 is 4. So the number we're going to add in both cases is going to be 5/4. So we have 5/4 here and 5/4 here. Okay, so to add the 25 and the 5/4, so it looks like 3/4. Hang on. 5/4. All right. So add those guys together. Remember, 25 is really 25 over 1. Okay. So if we want it over 4, that means you multiply the top and the bottom by 4. So 25 could be rewritten as 100 divided by 4. And that makes sense, right? And then plus 5 over 4. So then that part is going to become 105 over 4. Okay. Right. So then remember that what we look at then is we say, okay, this is actually a perfect square, ugly as it is. All right. And we know it's a perfect square, and it's going to be, the hack, remember, is after you take and divide by the 2, right? Oh, then we have to square it, actually. Okay, I messed that up. I forgot to square. So this is going to be 25. So this will be 25 over 16. All right, my bad. So then we have to go back over here. Let's fix this. So see, everybody forgets to do part of this sometimes, including me. All right, so let's do this again. So instead of 25 over 1, we need it over 16. So we're going to take 25 times 16. So 25 times 16. So it's 400. So this is going to be 400. Get this thing right, that would be awesome. So 400 over 16. So that's just a fancy version of 25 plus 25 over 16. So it means I need to fix this down here. My apologies on that. So this guy is going to be 25 over 16. So now what we do is we know that this is the number we're going to use for when we do our perfect square. So we're going to have to write over top this square here, but that's okay. So this is going to be x and then plus 5 over 4 squared equals, and we have to add these guys together, so 425 is 425 over 16. Okay, so now we take our square roots. So we square root this guy, square root this guy. So we get x plus 5/4 equals, then you do plus or minus square root of 425, whatever that is. I'm going to leave him alone. And the square root of 16 is just 4. So our last step is we have to move this guy over, and I don't have any more room. So maybe we just need to pop a new slide in here. All right, so where did we leave off at? So we were up to, we had x plus 5 over 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 425 over the square root of 16 is 4. Okay, so next thing we have to do is we have to move this guy over here, make him negative. So then x is going to equal minus 5 over 4 plus or minus the square root of 425 over 4. Okay, so we can probably reduce the square root. Square root of 425 is pretty big, right? Well, we know 25 is a perfect square. So if we do our calculator here, so we need to add 25. So we have 425, we divide him by 25, we get 17, okay? So let's do a little side calculation here. So the square root of 425 is equal to the square root of 25 times the square root of 17. And we know the square root of 25 is just 5. So this will be 5 times the square root of 17. This is probably how they're going to write the answer. And then since we have 4s on the bottom, they'll probably write the 4s just once. So if you were taking like a multiple choice test, they would probably have the answer as minus 5 plus or minus 5 square root of 17 all over 4. Okay? And again, these are about as ugly as these get. Yeah, it gets confusing. I agree. That's why we walk through several of these, and hopefully eventually you'll get the vibe for them. So yeah, the next one I'm going to go ahead and just make an extra screen already, just so we know. So let's go ahead and duplicate the slide. Okay, so now it says write each function. Whoops, lost my microphone. Hang on. It says write each function in vertex form and identify the vertex. So if you remember, vertex form is basically y equals x plus or minus some number. What the heck? Now let's just try this again. My pen is a little glitchy today, as it is sometimes. All right, so vertex form is y equals some version of x plus or minus some number here, squared, and then just another number. So they usually write it like that. So like x minus h squared, and then k. And then remember, to find the vertex, once you have it in vertex form, it's pretty easy. You switch the sign on the guy in with the y, so it becomes just h, and then the k stays the same. So remember, we said we switch the value of the 1, we leave the other guy alone. All right, so we haven't seen this for a while, so let's take a look at it. So what we need to do here is we need to go ahead and set this equal to 0. So instead of y, we're just going to call it 0. So 0 equals x squared plus 4x minus 3. All right, so to write it in vertex form, what we need to do is we need to complete the square. So we're going to move the negative 3 to the other side. I'm going to add 3. All right, just to kind of keep it looking normal, I'm going to write the x squared and this terrible 4x first. So x squared plus 4x equals 3. Okay. So now we do our completing the square things, and it's not, this one's not going to be fractions and all that weirdness, so it's not so bad. Okay, so again, we take the number in front of the x, that is 4. We divide him by 2, that's just an automatic thing. And we get 2. And then we take the 2, and we square it. Forget that. 2 squared, 2 times 2 is 4. So we're going to add a 4 here and a 4 here. Okay. So again, the reason we do this is we want this format here, right? Okay. So then we know this guy is going to be, the number we use is the number right after we divide it by 2. So this is going to be x plus 2 squared and equals 7. All right, so to write it in this format here, we would just say y equals x plus 2 squared. Bring the 7 to the other side, he's negative 7, like that. And there it's set up. Okay. And then it says identify the vertex. So remember what we said about that. We switch the sign on this guy, so instead of positive 2, he's negative 2. And we leave this guy alone, and he's minus 7. So that's our vertex right there. Okay. Why 2? I'll tell you why. You know this is something we're squaring, right? So you remember when we do that, let's square this guy. So we've got x plus 2 and then x plus 2. All right. So when we FOIL, we do x times x, that's x squared. Then we do x times 2, that's plus 2x. Then we do x, or 2 plus 2 times x, that's 2x again, and then finally the plus 4. So notice there's 2 of these guys. So when we're undoing it, we'll have 4x here, right? Just like we have 4x here. So to undo that, we have to divide by 2 to split it up, again like this. But that's an automatic thing. Whatever number is in front of the x, in this case 4, we just automatically divide by 2. But that's why. Great question. Any other questions? All right, so let's go ahead and check out the other one here. All right, so this one we're doing number 37, so we're not doing this guy. We've already done him. Okay, so same thing. We're going to bring the 27 over here. So we're going to start with x squared plus 12x. And then we put the 27 on the other side, he becomes negative 27. Okay? All right, then standard procedure says I'm going to take the number in front of x, that's 12. All right. Automatically divide him by 2. And then we get 6. Then we take the 6 and square it. We get 36. So it means add a 36 here and a 36 here. All right, so again, this guy, the reason we add that 36 is we want it to be x plus or minus some number squared, right? And the number we use again is the number right after we divide by 2, so this can be x plus 6 squared. And over here we get 36 minus 27, I think that's 9, right? So now all we have to do to finish this up is we'll say y equals x plus 6 squared, right? And then we just move the 9 back over to this side, so it's minus 9. So that's vertex form. Some version of x plus or minus a number squared, and then we have the other number just tacked on. And again, when they want the vertex, it's going to be an xy point, right? So then what do? We switch the sign on this guy, so negative 6, and leave this guy alone, minus 9. Okay. So what this is telling us is we know that the quadratic graphs are U-shaped, right? And since this is a positive x squared, then it's going to be a u going this way, right? And then the vertex is this bottom point. So that point there would be minus 6 and minus 9. So that's some stuff we had done in the past. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Sure. All right. So this one, same thing. We're doing vertex form still. So we're going to have x squared minus 6x. And then we move the 12 over here, and that equals negative 12. Cool. So again, what we do is, first things first, I'm probably going to copy this over. Let's go back up here. So then, as usual, we're going to take the negative 6, divide him by 2, that gives us minus 3. We're going to take the minus 3 and square it, and that gives us positive 9. So we're going to add a 9 here and add a 9 here. All right, so again, remember when we add this 9 over here, what that does for us is gives us something that factors into a perfect square. And the number we use again is the number right after we divide it by 2. So this will be x minus 3 squared. So if you take x minus 3 times x minus 3, you'll get this guy back. And then over here, this is 12, negative 12 plus 9, that's going to be minus 3. So then to wrap it up, we say y equals x minus 3 squared. And then move him over here, he becomes plus 3. And then our vertex is going to be switch the sign on him, so he's 3. Leave this guy alone, he's also 3. So 3, 3 is our vertex. Okay. All right, so let's try 39. Let's give us some space. Let me erase this part real quick. All right. So we've already taken care of this guy. All right. So we're working on this one. So same thing, we're going to move the -1 to the other side, so he'll be +1. So we're going to have x squared minus 14x, and that's going to equal just +1. What's my negative sign so low? Weird. Fix this up a little bit. Fix that x up while I'm here. Why is this not writing? There we go. So we got x squared minus 14x equals 1. Okay, so same deal. We're going to take the -14, divide him by 2. It's going to be -7. So then this guy is going to be x minus 7 squared. And then the number we add to each side is we take the -7 and square. -7 times -7 is a +49. So add him here, and more importantly, add him here. So then we have that equals 50. So then all we have to do is move him over here. So we get y equals x minus 7 squared minus 50. In our vertex, switch the sign on this guy, so he becomes +7. Leave this guy alone, he is still -50. We're good to go. So that's where our particular graph bottoms out here. Questions? All right. Do you want to keep going on these vertex ones, or you want to try something else? I just feel like I'm beating a dead horse here somewhat. I mean, I can work through more of them if you want, or we can move on to the next part. It's your call. Some more, please? Sure, no problem. Okay. So this one, same deal. Gonna move him over here, right? All right, so this one's gonna get a little bit weirder because we got this guy here, right? All right, so this is going to be 3x squared minus 6x, and then equals +2. Okay, so here's what we do with this one. Remember when we were completing the square, we said, well, we'd like to have just an x squared up front, not a 3x squared. This actually works a little nicer than those other problems we were doing, because all we do here is, very conveniently, we have a 3 and a 6. That means we can factor out a 3. Okay? So if I factor out a 3, then I get x squared minus 6. No, minus 6, minus 2. Because 6 divided by 3 is 2. Hold on. Let me fix that. All right. All right, and then that is going to equal 2. So once we did that, then we go ahead and say, all right, we've got -2. So we take the -2, divide him by 2, that's -1. we square negative 1, that is positive 1. So I'm going to add 1 here and add 1 here. So the only difference is we just have to bring this 3 along each time. So we do 3, and then remember this is the number we want to use here. So this is going to be x minus 1 squared equals 2. And then our last move is we just need to move him back over here. So then this will be y equals 3 x minus 1 squared minus 2. And you still find the vertex the same way. We can actually write, there we go. So again, switch the sign on this guy, so he's 1. Leave this guy alone, minus 2. There we go. Cool. All right, so it looks like we have enough room. We can go ahead and do this guy as well. Let's switch up colors though. Okay, so same deal. Move the 35 over here, make him negative 35. So I've got 2x squared minus 20x, and that's going to equal minus 35. All right, so fortunately they're both even numbers, so we can factor out a 2. So go ahead and do that. Factor out a 2, then you're going to get x minus 10, actually x squared, minus 10x. And that equals negative 35. All right, so again, we do the same thing. We say, all right, we're going to take minus 10, divide by 2, and that's going to be minus 5. We take minus 5 and square it, and we get 25. So we're going to add 25 here, and add 25 here. All right, so we got the 2. Then this is going to be x, which is the number after we divide, minus 5 squared equals 25 minus 35, that's negative 10. So our last maneuver is we've got to move him back over here. So you're going to get y equals 2 x minus 5 squared, and then plus 10. So again, your vertex I don't know what that is. It looks like a dollar sign on its side. Oh, man. So again, your vertex is switch the sign on this guy. So he just becomes 5. Leave this guy alone. He stays 10. And that's our guy. Okay. All right. Nah, I've been doing this way too long, but I know where you guys are coming from. Is it one of those days, Chloe? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take a break from those and let's look at a couple other problems here. And next time we'll do the quadratic formula. Even though that sounds bad, the quadratic formula is really easy. Once you have the formula, you just plug in some numbers and check out some answers. It's pretty simple. All right, so let's look at this guy. So it says, write each function in vertex form. Tell whether each graph could represent the function. Okay, so obviously 44 goes with the first graph because that's an upward parabola. Then the other one has a negative in front of it, right? So that's a downward parabola. Okay. All right, so real quick, I'm going to do our usual here. I'm going to do x squared plus 6x. Move him over here. That's negative 3. Okay, so I'm going to do 6 divided by 2. Looks like hieroglyphics up there. Hang on. No, we went to there. I want to scream at this thing some days. This pen thing. Although it's nice that we can write on here, trust me. If you remember back to the beginning of the year when I didn't have this, ugh, what a nightmare that was. So that's going to be 3. Then we take the 3 and square it, and we get 9. So I'm going to add a 9 here and a 9 here. All right, so then this becomes x plus 3 squared. And then over here we've got 9 minus 3 is 6, but then we move him to the other side, remember? So it makes him negative 6. So our vertex for this guy is, we need to switch the sign on this guy, so it's negative 3, and leave this guy alone, that's negative 6. So notice this, here's our vertex, right? So our x value is positive, right? This guy's negative. Now the negative 6 might be okay because it's below the line here. This could be minus 6 for, what this draw? Weird. Anyway, this could be minus 6 for y, right? But this is not going to be negative 3 over here. So that's what they were trying to tell us. Okay. All right, so the next one, we haven't done one with a negative. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just factor out the minus, right? And then you're going to have x squared, positive x squared, and then positive 10x. Okay. And then if we move him to the other side, so by moving that out front, then we switched all the signs, right? So he's positive 21, but when I move him back over here, he's going to be negative 21 again. Okay. So then same thing, we're going to take 10 divided by 2, that's 5. Square the 5, that's 25. So I'm going to add a 25 here conveniently, and add a 25 here. Hang on, I put my parenthesis too close. And I'm going to add 25 here. Okay, so then this is going to be negative, and then we're going to have x plus 5 squared. And over here we've got negative 21 and 25. So it's going to be plus 4, but then we move them to the other side, it's going to be negative 4. All right. So again, same thing. This is just telling us we're going upside down. But this one here, so x is going to be negative 5, right? Switch the sign, and minus 4. So x could go back here. This could be minus 5. But this is definitely not minus 4, is it? Because it's up above. So neither one of these graphs work. Okay. Questions? Okay, that's a lot for today. I know it is. So we'll stop there for now. Yeah, like I said, next time we'll do quadratic formula, which, like I said, the formula is pretty crazy looking. But if you're given the formula and you know how to plug the numbers in, you're good to go. So I think you might actually find that easier. Like I said, completing the square is everybody's kind of least favorite version of this stuff for obvious reasons. All right, so I'll go ahead and shut down the recording. I will thank you all for showing up. And hey, tomorrow's Thursday already. We'll see you then.